I'm going to tell you 4 mistakes that are quietly keeping you average. And I want to be upfront about something before I start. Some of these mistakes, actually, all of them I've made before. Some of them I'm still making. It's not a list of things that stupid people do. It's a list of mistakes that almost every committed, hardworking student makes. And that list definitely includes me, because they disguise themselves as good habits, and that is what makes it dangerous. So let's go look at all of them. I studied for 6 hours today. You have said this. I have said this. We've all said this. It feels like such an achievement, right? Like as if the number of hours that we study equals the actual results that we get. And trust me, it totally isn't. The number of hours that you study is an input. The actual results that you get is an output. And these both are not the same. 6 hours of half-focused rereading of your notes, with your phone's constant notifications, with you getting up every 20 minutes, going outside to check that football game, that is not 6 hours of actual studying. That's more like 40 minutes of actual studying wearing a 6-hour studying costume. And that makes no sense. Because the question here isn't how long did I sit there studying? It's how much progress did I make actually studying? Every single time, 2 hours of focused active recall will outperform 6 hours of unfocused passive rereading of your notes. Every single time. Saying 6 hours feels impressive, right? It totally does. I do agree. And that is why this bad habit continuously remains. It always survives due to this. Because we're all optimizing for the number that feels great to report, not the number that actually matters. This one's very less talked about, but it matters way more than people think about it. Your environment, it has a psychological effect on you, whether you notice it or not. Imagine the place that you study in, the place where you do all of your focused work. If it's also the same place where you're scrolling, where you're sleeping, or even just chilling around, well then your brain doesn't clearly separate that this is work time and this is rest time. The place stops being a cue for focus and becomes a place where, well, everything happens. And when that happens, then that also gives you the feeling that everything just doesn't get started. This one's genuinely personal. Some people like to study in places that are absolutely quiet, no noise. Some like background noises. Some prefer to study in libraries because they feel that everyone around them are studying, so they have to join in due to social anxiety, like me. But the rule, the golden rule, as I call it, still stays the same. You have to have one place, or a couple of places that you associate to only focused work and studying. Protect that. Don't let it be the same place where you're doom scrolling at 1 a.m. This one is the one that I'm still actively wrestling with. To be honest with you, I make a lot of notes for my exams. And there's this nagging voice that goes in my head when I make notes that says, you're being really productive right now the entire time as I make my notes. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Making notes is mostly a recognition activity. As you write down the information, you feel like you're learning it. And we looked at this in depth in our Learning How to Learn video about the science behind revision, how there's a difference between recognition of information and retrieval of information, and how the exam clearly prefers retrieval over recognition. So clearly, as I'm making my notes, I'm recognizing information rather than retrieving information. And that beats the purpose, right? So where does that leave making notes? So in my view, this might be slightly controversial, but I'm going to say don't ban the idea of making notes. Rather, demote it and be really purposeful about it. So here's how. What I do right now is make my notes, but ensure that the critical process here is converting these notes into flashcards for active recall. So the key caveat here is you're trying to spend more time on reviewing these flashcards rather than making the notes, because the clear concept here is active recall is the real work and making the notes is the preparation for the real work. So clearly, if you're spending more time making notes than actively retrieving the information from the notes, well, then your ratio is going backwards like mine used to. Last one, and this one actually connects to all of the mistakes that we've discussed before this more easily than it seems at first. Your phone beside you, a tab of football open on the side, the phone goes boom, there's a notification. And your brain just quickly says, let me just check that notification, or let me just watch the game for 5 minutes. Most people look at this and instantly go, willpower problem. How do you fix it? Well, try harder and resist the distraction. Just focus, bro. But here's the thing. It is not a willpower failure. It's an environment problem. Here's how this all connects. Scrolling your phone, counting the hours, or even making those pretty aesthetic notes rather than testing yourself. They're all the same wearing different outfits. They all feel productive, or at least they all feel okay. But what they're all doing subconsciously is they're all actually just trying to move away from doing the one uncomfortable thing. Sitting in a place with a blank piece of paper and trying to regurgitate every bit of information that you remember and looking at the gaps that you have in your knowledge. Active recall is hard, and it's precisely because it shows you where you are missing, where you're having gaps in your understanding, what you're doing wrong. And now let's talk about the other revision methods, the other mistakes. Making your notes. Does it tell you where you have gaps? Absolutely not. Counting hours? No. Your phone? Definitely not. So the whole idea behind all of these mistakes is, quite simply, they're all comfortable alternatives to the one uncomfortable yet most effective way of revising: active recall. None of these 4 mistakes make you lazy. And I want to be really clear about that. That is not true for you, for me, or for anyone listening. They make you human. They're just the path of least resistance, dressed as effort. Now, the solution here isn't some big, massive overhaul. It's actually way simpler than that, in my view. Honestly, after every single one of your study sessions, just ask yourself these 2 questions. Number 1, ask yourself, did I just put in time? Or number 2, did I actually actively test myself on knowledge and use my memory to retrieve and recall information? I think that these 2 questions asked consistently after every single one of your study sessions will do you more than any app or any sophisticated system.